to proceedings pertaining to the entire hijab controversy that erupted in the state of Karnataka, specifically in Mangaluru. And the Karnataka government has in fact decided to blame the PFI, the Popular Front of India, saying that they were responsible for instigating the controversy that took place late last year and the early part of this year. And this is something that the representative of the Karnataka government has also put forward in the court. Let me go across to Harish for more on this. Harish, what can you tell us about the specific claims made by the Karnataka government and its legal representative about the involvement of the PFI in this matter?
Yes, remember, Siddharth, very significant allegations and these arguments made by the Karnataka government, just like in the Karnataka High Court, they have in the Supreme Court also, why it is hearing 23 in fact, appeals, has talked about the role played by the PFI in the entire controversy, how they provoked, aided, abetted, and committed. There was a conspiracy to lead the children to protest. And in fact, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta also quoted the High Court judgment in which it was said that the way hijab controversy unfolded gives scope for argument that some unseen hands were at work. The speedy investigation into the matter brought to the book, brooking no delay. So this was the words of the Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court. Very same was repeated by the Solicitor General, and Solicitor General today has blamed PFI, saying that PFI provoked the entire controversy. They were a part of larger conspiracy and children were acting as advised. Even High Court judgment spoke about the unseen hands. Even High Court had asked for a probe, and also very significantly said government intervened when public order was disturbed and not before that. Solicitor General said that suddenly some girl students who were never wearing hijab suddenly started wearing hijab. At that same time, some male students started wearing saffron shawls, so the government had to intervene and enforce a rule of uniform. These were the exact words of the Solicitor General. In 2022, a movement was started in social media by PFI. There were continuous social media messages, start wearing hijab. This was not a spontaneous act by a few children. They were part of a larger conspiracy and children were acting as advised. So very, very significant argument made by the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who has said that PFI was behind the entire hijab row.
Absolutely. Let me take this across to Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan as well. Madhav, these are the proceedings, of course, currently underway in the Supreme Court in the hijab matter. And this is likely to now bring back the focus on the role of the PFI and its student affiliate, the Campus Front of India, which was then accused by the Karnataka government of instigating the hijab protests.
Well, yes, this is in fact the entire initial controversy surrounding 6 students who insist on wearing the hijab was at the behest of the PFI, is an allegation that the Karnataka government has maintained all along. And in fact, now that argument coming up in the apex court as well. We have seen this argument come up in the High Court, and the High Court too had made observations about the matter being inquired, and of course has gone on to say that it is PFI that is in fact to that extent responsible for this entire controversy that is taking place in Karnataka. It has gone on to say that they were part of a larger conspiracy and children were acting as advised. Even the High Court judgment has spoken about unseen hands, and this is quoting from the High Court judgment. Even the High Court had asked for a probe, is what the Solicitor General has said. He's also said that the government has intervened only when public order was disturbed. In 2022, a movement was started on social media by PFI. There were continuous social media messages, start wearing hijab. This was not a spontaneous act by few children. They were a part of larger conspiracy and children were acting as advised. Now, the question that is being asked by the bench at that point of time is whether these are part of the pleadings. He has gone on to say that the material were placed on record before the High Court and has referred to High Court judgment observations, saying that we are dismayed as to how the issue started in the middle of an academic year, blown out of proportion to create social unrest. This is of course what the Solicitor General is submitting before the Supreme Court, quoting the proceedings that have taken place at the level of the High Court itself. So the name of the PFI being quoted here once again by the Solicitor General. Of course, on part of the Karnataka government are the arguments that are being made over here currently in this entire matter. So one will have to see what view really the court takes, because the court has been hearing this matter for several days now. What is the view that the court takes and how seriously it will take these arguments remains to be seen. But the role of the PFI once again being alleged by the Karnataka government at the very highest level of the judiciary, that is the apex court.
In fact, let me take this across once again to Harish for more updates on this. Harish, this is of course a rebuttal that's coming from the Solicitor General and also the representative of the Karnataka government in the Supreme Court, that Well, we'll come to that in just a bit, but Rahul Ishwar joins us on the phone line. Mr. Ishwar, the role of the PFI now being, of course, invoked during the proceedings in the Supreme Court pertaining to this entire hijab controversy, a rebuttal coming from the government that this was not a matter of women exercising their right to choice and something that was actually engineered by the PFI and its student affiliate, the Campus Front of India.
So it is becoming clear that there was a political plot behind it. Please remember, there is a genuine debate whether hijab should be accepted or not. Even we see that in Iran. Iranian people or Iranian women living in an Islamic regime, thinking on a divergent path is what we see. Let there be to both. But organizations, hardline organizations like PFI, instigating, inciting, and organizing riots for their political agenda or their hardline agenda is something that should be condemned by everyone. There are a lot of Muslim mainstream organizations. They have to take the voice and mantle up and not give space for such hardline organizations to maneuver and engineer riots in our society in the name of religion. So these people are using that space and creating some kind of disaffection towards the government, discord between the people, and damaging the social fabric. So I hope they will rethink. Let there be any position regarding hijab. Some people accept, some people reject, some people take a position in the middle. Let that be there. But organizations like PFI, which are even called hardline organization by the courts. For example, Kerala High Court went on record to ask why is such an extremist organization there.
But in this case, as per the arguments being given by the SG, it does not look like there was a entire protest based on freedom of choice. The SG says that there was a controversy, a larger design, and PFI provoked the entire controversy. The children were doing as they were advised. Let's bring in Mr. S. Prakash now. Mr. S. Prakash, time and again there have been demands to ban the organization. It's your government in Karnataka, it's your government in centre. We haven't seen any measures being taken so far. Now it's the SG in the court on the hijab issue saying that even that particular protest was provoked by the PFI.
Many disturbances in the country is provoked by PFI only. Many of the now the central government is collecting the evidence. Many places have been raided. They have unearthing about their illegal activities. I am sure the central government will very shortly ban this organization once and for all.
Okay. Stay on with us, Mr. S. Prakash. We have Swapnil Kothari, senior lawyer, joining us on the broadcast as well. Mr. Swapnil Kothari, till now there was a debate on, this being an intrinsic part of Islam or this being a protest voicing their opinion about freedom of choice. Now, the government of Karnataka in the court is saying that the children were acting as per directions, as per the advice that came in from PFI. They have put the entire blame on PFI, saying it's this organization and their cadre that has provoked the entire conspiracy.
Well, if they have evidence to back that claim, then I'm sure they know what they're arguing before the court, and they'll have to buttress it to prove. They cannot just, just make a bald statement in the court. Simply because the court will not just buy that the children were acting at the behest of an organization which is to be banned or which should be banned, and which is more of a fanatical organization. So this is something which will be subject to evidence, and I'm sure if the government is making that tall claim, then possibly they know what they are saying, and their advocate knows how to buttress that with evidence, because you will need evidence. You will need at least 2-3 children out there to say, to put them in the witness box and say that yes, we were not acting on our own, but we were being told by someone, or there was some remote control behind us that was telling us to do what we are supposed to do, and try to create up a ruckus, which otherwise would not have taken place. So
okay, Mr. Kothari, stay on with us. We also have Brijesh Kalappa joining us in the broadcast. Brijesh Kalappa, the government of Karnataka is telling the court, as far as the hijab row is concerned, that, this was all part of a larger conspiracy. In 2022, according to the government of Karnataka, in fact, a movement was started on social media. Continuously, messages were being passed. PFI is at the heart of it, at the center of it. And this was not a spontaneous act by few children. This, in fact, was organized by the PFI. Okay, I believe we've lost that line with Mr. Brijesh Kalappa. Let's bring in Harish once again. Harish, very, very important developments taking place on the hijab row. Karnataka government telling the court that even the High Court of Karnataka was dismayed in the manner in which the entire protest broke out and was blown out of proportion. I believe we've lost that line with Harish as well. Let's take that question across to Madhav, our national editor, is getting us more details. Yes, Madhav.
Well, yes, in fact, the developments in court are continuing. The arguments are currently underway, but clearly, of course, a very, very important development with the PFI being invoked here during the course of the arguments by the Solicitor General, who is, of course, representing the Karnataka government in its arguments as far as the apex court are concerned. Remember, the petitioners have already been arguing for several days now, and now, of course, it is the Karnataka government which is saying that it is only due to a law and order situation that the state government was forced to intervene, that the petitioners, the entire matter was begun at the behest of the PFI, which has carried out a campaign, in fact, for the hijab to be worn, and of course, very, very important that they were invoking the High Court judgment also, saying that even
Madhav,
the High Court judgment
let's quickly take a reaction from Mr. Brijesh Kalappa. He is with us on the broadcast now. Mr. Brijesh Kalappa, how do you respond to these developments? The Karnataka government's argument in the court that this was not a spontaneous act by children, it was all organized, planned and provoked by the PFI. Okay, I think we've lost that line once again with Mr. Brijesh Kalappa. Let's go back to Madhav. Madhav, so far outside the court we have seen debates on that whether this is, a freedom of choice that is being taken away from the children, whether the argument is about hijab being an intrinsic part of Islam. Some also say that women look more dignified when they wear hijab. Hijab is, something that adds to their dignity. Government of Karnataka says, all of that aside, as far as the protest and the ruckus and the law and order situation is concerned, it was all created by the PFI.
Well, yes, that is very, very clear that what the government of Karnataka is saying, that the issue was really created by the PFI. It is at their behest that, in fact, the initial set of girls who protested as far as the hijab is concerned, those students were acting at the behest of the PFI, and of course going on to say that it became a law and order issue in the state of Karnataka, and it's only at that time that the government had to intervene and issue a notification. Of course, the government of Karnataka separately, apart from these arguments that are being made currently in the Supreme Court, has in the past said that they are for any kind of religious symbols being banned, whether saffron shawls or whether it is hijab and other scarves such as that. So that is the argument that has come in from the Karnataka government so far. Once again, those arguments being repeated at the level of the apex court, in fact submitting that it is the PFI that is responsible for all of these activities, and clearly, of course, at some level or the other, choosing to also invoke the High Court judgment which referred to unseen hands and the role of those unseen hands that requires to be probed by the Karnataka High Court while delivering its own judgment into this entire matter, which is being now appealed and being heard by the Supreme Court. So
right, Madhav, we have Zeenat Chaukatali joining us on the broadcast as well. Zeenat Chaukatali, another interesting twist, another angle. The Karnataka government has told the court that it is the PFI that organized these protests. This was not a spontaneous act by children. They were only acting as per the directions that were being given to them, and PFI was provoking a controversy, part of a larger design. How do you respond to these arguments being presented?
I see. So you see, these kind of possibilities cannot be overruled. You see, these kind of possibilities, and you cannot say 100% unless they are giving you full evidence of what they are saying and why they are saying it. If they have evidence against the PFI, of course, and in any case, that kind of an organization should be banned. If the Muslims themselves have said it, that these kind of organizations don't need to exist at all. So when you instigate young students, young minds, and that kind of thinking, that itself is damaging to education, isn't it? Is it not?
Absolutely. As far as evidence is concerned, since you raised that point, the government of Karnataka is saying in 2022 a movement was started, messages were being circulated on social media, and continuously children were being coaxed into being part of this particular protest. How do you see that? Because in the court, statements have been made, arguments have been given that women look more dignified with hijab. It's intrinsic part of Islam. The government outside the court and in the court also saying that this is a controversy stirred by the PFI.
I think I would agree with them. It is a controversy that is stirred. It's a controversy that wants to take things out of control and into their own hands, and giving them the leverage and the power, over women's education and whatever they need. So I would not overrule that. I would say yes. I would definitely consider.
Okay, all right. Zinat Shaukat Ali, thank you very much for joining us. That was Zinat Shaukat Ali saying that we should not overlook this, and one needs to investigate this particular angle as well. If the government is claiming in the court that PFI was involved, then there should be an investigation into their role as to how did they organize these protests and how did they provoke young minds, how were they brainwashed. Madhav, continue.